Welcome to the mental edge.
No, you sent me a text message about creativity, and you said you saw a post or something.
I was watching something. I think I was watching something on. I think I was watching something on TikTok.
Okay.
Okay. And then the next day when I was jogging, I had this thought hit me.
Okay.
Because the statement on TikTok was someone was sitting in a chair and they were talking about creative people who make it to the top of whatever industry they're in. It's very rare that a creative person makes it to the top. It's very rare that a creative person makes it to the top.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they said what's really crazy, Junior, is if a creative person manages to make it to the top, guess what? They're called geniuses. They're called out-of-the-box thinkers.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, sometimes, Junior, it's all about how far you make it. And then the crazier you are sometimes than some people's in the conventional world, if you make it far enough, what some people would call crazy for so far up the chain.
Yeah.
If the crazy person who's really just a genius, who's just creative, makes it to the top, they're not crazy. They're a genius.
Huh.
How do I get to the top? Tell me more.
That's interesting.
And then what then is the thing I want to talk about that actually got him there? What makes the difference between the person at the top who's a creative and the person at the bottom who can't find a job?
And they're both artists.
And they're both creative people.
Yeah. Right.
Artists,
creatives,
songwriters,
poets, movie director, or like guys that make movies
from a film perspective, can see the movie before they ever capture it on a camera.
Right, designers, and everything about
designers.
Yeah.
There's
everything
we're going to talk about
dancers,
what I think is
dancers, right?
Dancers. Dude, people are either dancing on their phone. Or they're dancing on stage next to Janet Jackson, right? Or they are Janet Jackson, right? So there's something going on there, and I think it hit me later.
So even like guys that mess with metal and create things,
absolutely,
would those be creatives?
Yeah, you don't have to ask me that.
No, but you get it, right?
My opinion is people who are tinkering in their garage, right, making sculptures with nuts and bolts and a 70-18 welding rod.
Yeah.
Could be super creative people.
Yeah. But
what makes them different than the person who sells their garage art for $1 million? There's something I think that is there.
It made me think of when you started talking about creatives, I couldn't help but think of even when you're looking at like guys who design and create buildings, right?
Yeah.
Like architecture and stuff like that, things of that nature, where if you go back 1,000 years, right?
Yeah.
And you're in Europe.
Yes.
They have beautiful architecture and all these amazing buildings that at the time were, I don't know what, were they thought of as like art as we see them today?
Well, today we certainly appreciate them as architecture.
And it became more popular. The longer they've been around, the more interesting and the more we want to go see those things, like the Leaning Tower and all these different, spaces.
Yeah, we see beauty in and stuff. First of all, in the resiliency, we see beauty. Right?
I get it. Yeah, I wrote down the worst thing creative people can do is not create. If they don't create, they die, right? And my example would be like if an extrovert can't, if extroverts are cut away from people, then they can't use their superpower, right? Yeah. If an agreeable person is not in an intimate relationship, like he dies,
right?
Right. So creatives, in that sense, if they're not creating, they like if you're not writing music, making videos, editing, all the things that make you who you are as a creative, Jay, you would wither away.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? Like
Sure.
there's a lot of things that make you really creative. So, and I think you're trying to see if the discipline.
The word I'm going to
Is-
get to is discipline.
is that what- okay.
Did you know that?
Yeah, you wrote you.
Did I write that?
Yeah, you did. That was like the last thing you said. So I'm like, oh, okay. So tell me more about it.
So-
or let's navigate what you were talking about.
So isn't
I
it
wanna-
crazy how, I love people, man.
Yeah.
I just love people. I love to watch people make things. I love to watch people succeed.
Yeah.
So I think I'm always doing these case studies of these people that are in our lives that are creative or effective and successful.
Yeah.
And I do find it very intriguing when a creative person, and I know myself to be pretty creative, I know
Right.
that I struggle to guarantee that some of the disciplines that would make me more effective are in my life. I think that if you are a pretty creative person, you lean towards being a dreamer. And you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I might not have all of those analog skills that get things done on the daily. So when I see somebody that is creative and is grinding
Right.
and is making progress, they are insanely interesting to me.
What I hear there is, well, I'll just go back. Like you see a lot of creative people, and it's kind of going back to what you said earlier, and it's really hard to monetize creativity,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true too.
right?
That's
it's really
really
hard
true.
because if you have someone that's really busy creating, they're more than likely they're not marketing, they're not
Yeah.
selling, they're not. The hardest part for me is selling.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Right.
like I'd rather create than sell. It just feels
Yeah.
uncomfortable to me.
And the one constantly common thread amongst the successful people we've interviewed, they all push past the comfort.
Evidently.
It takes a special person to.
Sure does.
That's an art, right?
It is, yeah.
But it's not the kind of art that I do. And then like I said, marketing, sales. Sometimes there's what they call the curse of the creative,
Okay, lay it on me.
right? So you have to be highly dedicated to pursue like what you love to do, right? So there's a lot of high risk and high return if that risk goes through. And that's what you were saying earlier. If you're putting
The risk is definitely in the equation.
Yeah. So if you're putting all your eggs in the basket of, you're an artist or a creative and it doesn't pan out, you get what is commonly called in society the starving artist. The starving artist,
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
right?
Right.
That's always happened. Like you're always like, oh man, that guy is great. And sometimes you're like, that guy that's on the street corner, his artwork looks way better than this guy.
There you go.
And this guy is like in a real fancy museum. And it makes me wonder how that happened. But being a creative, you kind of get, well, it's really hard to, put your, the iron in multiple fires.
Yeah.
Like the marketing fire, the sales fire, all those things to monetize that.
Yeah.
And and trying to do that is difficult.
It is difficult.
So that would be
it
considered.
doesn't come natural.
Right.
For
right.
most of them.
Yeah. How hard is it to run a business? You got businessmen and that's what they do. But
Yeah.
now you're a creative and you're like trying to run a business.
Yeah.
And all those intricacies of running the business.
So I'm super glad that you embarked on running a business. So let's say once in a while you'll run up on a story where this CEO,
Yeah.
highly successful person,
Right.
is also insanely creative.
Yes.
So when I was running the other day, I'm like, well, where do these freaking people come from?
Yeah.
How is it possible that they infiltrate the lineage that is loaded, no disrespect, guys, loaded with non-creative people?
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
So if you're at the bottom,
Yeah.
right, and you've got these grand ideas and you share them with the non-creative people, they're like, well, that's stupid. You're crazy. That'll never happen. You can't do
Yeah.
that. That's impossible. So there's
What,
a couple
what would
traps,
you call those
though.
people, the non-creative people? What would they be categorized under?
To me, when I say non-creative, please, I hope that's not a cut down. because we're going to talk about why they're super successful in a second.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And why the non-creative needs to adopt their
Some of those,
disciplines.
yeah.
Exactly, right?
Okay.
So this is where we're going.
Yeah.
What was the question again?
I said, do you categorize?
What do I call them?
Yeah. Is there a certain personality type that encompassses usually people that are non-creative?
The people that, a lot of times, the people that that popped in my head was, I'll literally have people say to me, well, I couldn't draw a stick figure, right? Now, those people oftentimes, they just don't know how to discover their creativity. They've got it in them. It's not really super relevant in their life.
Right.
They're not getting accolades. Like Junior at 6 years old was probably, his mom's like, my Lord, my son's incredible, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, when I compared my house, I said this story before. When I compared like the house that I drew compared to the one that my mom drew.
Yeah.
My mom's house was a square with a triangle top, with a little like smoke coming out of this like kind of weird looking chimney. Like
Sure.
it
was not like
and then the windows were like little squares with X's in them, and so from that I could tell that she stopped drawing. I don't know, 3rd grade, right?
Yes.
So she didn't have the practice. I continued 6, 7, 9, 16. I just kept drawing
45.
and practicing.
45.
Yeah, I devoted my life to it, right?
Your life is devoted to it.
Right. So yeah, I feel like that's part of it as well. And then, so I guess what I meant by, is there like, you have people or guys that they call, oh man, he's type A personality.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Or
I don't really
he's-
know if I can put him in a category.
In a
to be
category.
honest with you.
Okay, yeah.
But if I were that's a great way to capture it.
Yeah.
They pretty much are very black and white, mathematical, right? They think inside the box because they like what works and they can see it work.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
They don't always need like this grandiose solution.
Right.
Because they're like, well, this one works. Why would I worry about making it any better?
But in the business world, if you're at the bottom and you send that, hey, this is what I think, and it's very creative, and a lot of these, guys are like,
Guess what happens? Guess what happens, Junior?
What happens?
Dream squashing.
Yeah, dream squashing.
So let's talk
Yeah.
about that. Let's think,
Right.
if you don't mind, unless you got something real
No,
quick,
no, go ahead.
I want to marinate here right now.
Yeah.
So imagine little Johnny's at the bottom. Or
Right.
no. Sarah's at the bottom.
Yeah.
She goes to talk to little Johnny. She says, hey, I know I just started here, but I see the way that you're doing that, and I want you to know if you could probably triple your production if you would just fold it this way.
Yeah.
Now, he's been here like a minute,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And here's the problem. He's going to get dismissed.
Okay.
Now, understand this, guys. Dismissal sometimes when you're a creative, it begins to wear you down.
Yeah.
And you go from this extroverted creative to this introverted creative who, just like Junior said, is on the street corner living on pennies when the extroverted, resilient creative is the one that's at the top one day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you can be beat down at the lowest level because very rarely is that creative kid, Sarah, going to approach little Johnny and he's like, dang, that's a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
I think that at the lowest level, meaning age-wise,
Yes.
in the youngest developmental level of creativity, I don't think like the kid in the sandpit creating this awesome castle is creating the castle in its elaboracy, thinking I'm going to like this is going to be the best looking castle in the world.
Sure.
I think he's just like looking at his parents and wanting like some affirmation, like, yeah, man, this is a really cool castle, right? It starts at that level though, because I didn't even know what an artist was. I just knew that like I liked seeing the picture and making it look like it, and my mom telling me it was good.
Yeah.
Right? The whole introvert extrovert thing that you're talking about is really interesting to me because at some point, if I become so fixated on the art, right, whatever that is, what it might be a part of my personality. I'm not sure how that goes, but and I'm not working on developing like, conversational skills with other kids and all those things. I could definitely see how I could even end up being more of an introvert and more of an outsider. Like, and that might affect me in the future. right? I mean,
Yeah, I
it could be
agree.
a possibility.
It could be a possibility. And I feel like for little Sarah in our story,
Yeah.
to make progress, she has to learn at a pretty young age, or at least at some age,
Right.
that the way to infiltrate the system
Yeah.
that allows her to be propelled to places where she will be highly appreciated is she has to adopt the disciplines and even sometimes the personas
Okay.
of the less creative people who are in there crunching the numbers, living a disciplined life, lopping off chunks of life, not with grand ideas, but with hard work. Right?
Yeah.
If he or she at the lowest level who's creative doesn't incorporate those things, then they're never going to gain respect from the people who will be like, wow, this person's got it really together. They said some crazy stuff the other day, but man, they're also really grinding. So
Yeah.
we'll bring them in.
Right.
The next person sees those really redeeming qualities that are typically related to reliability. Right?
Yeah. 80% of it is just showing up.
Yeah, just showing up. Because
Yeah.
if little Sarah's feelings gets hurt when she had a perfect idea
Yeah.
and she don't come,
Right.
she never gets to the next level,
No.
right?
Yeah. She'll never get noticed.
She never gets noticed. She's
Yeah.
not going to be the creative CEO who's a genius, who
Right.
thinks out of the box.
Yeah.
She's going to be all up in the box, and the box is a prison.
Yeah. Something that this reminds me of is a story of a company that I'm currently working with. And it was really cool because I had a CEO call me, but he didn't call me direct. His guy called me, right? So I get there
Yeah.
and I know that this is his guy because as soon as I walk in, anything I ask him about the project, he's like really, well, I got to go talk to Scott.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, all right, Scott. So, eventually I get to meet Scott, and Scott comes out and he's like, Scott basically, he's a forward thinker and he likes the fact that, he likes the creative side. So
Yeah.
I said a few things that must have really triggered his creative side as well. So then we're just bouncing ideas off of each other, and he's getting excited, right?
Right.
And at one point he's like, you know what? The entrance, I just want it to be so grandiose. I want people to know when they walk in, like what we do, and
Yeah,
and
wonderful.
But for me, what he doesn't know about me is like I'm literally spending his whole entire
Your budget gone.
His budget's gone, right? So I go back to the drawing board. I'm sending him the ideas, and so he says, "Hey, when can we meet?" So I go back over there. He was like, "Yeah, man, I absolutely love your ideas, and I know that." Initially, I said that budget is probably not an option, a problem if I like the idea.
Yeah.
But we're gonna probably have to dial it back
You're gonna have
some,
to dial it back.
right? But
That's
at the
fun.
end of the day, he was hiring me to design and some graphics for him, but I saw it as a way to implement. Like even architecturally, what the place looks like to bring that story that he sold me to life, and it was really exciting to almost get there, right?
Yeah.
But what I loved is a few months later when I went back, seeing some of those things implemented, it was really cool. So
yeah, that is cool.
Yeah,
To see your vision of,
Yeah.
because Junior, what you do is that people don't know. He brings visions to life that people don't realize they even have.
Yeah.
Like they can't always describe
Right.
what they love. And then when
Yeah.
he finishes it, they're like, oh,
Yeah.
well, that's it.
Yeah.
Right? And you get to see that all the time.
Yeah.
I think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. But what I liked is, I think when you approached him,
yeah,
you were still careful about feeling him out
yeah.
with your because the ideas, if I could be in your head, I bet they're literally going pew, pew, pew. They just
Yeah.
morph out of nowhere, right?
Yeah, I have a saying, the more you give,
Yeah.
right? That if I empty myself out, there's room
There's room for more. I love
there's
it.
room for more. So I am not shy about giving away the creativity because at the end of the day, I know that it'll get filled right back up.
Right.
So I look at it that way. I didn't always look at it that way. I always thought that I had to like hold on to the great ideas, but now I let go of those ideas, and then you jump on that idea, and which triggers a bigger idea for me. So we just keep stacking them, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that that's it's kind of like our conversations, right? Yeah. So you'll find
that's exactly
a groove, right?
Yeah.
And then within that groove, you'll say something that inspires me to say something, and vice versa. Then you'll say something, and you know.
Because rarely do we land on all our notes. Sometimes the conversation we go off on a tangent, and sometimes it's better than our notes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I did right here though. Have you ever been so focused that it stifles relationships? Right? As an artist.
Yeah.
I'm thinking as an artist, right?
Yeah.
So, and you know, passed up opportunities so that you can simply try to force out the idea that you have, the creative idea that you have. It might be a song, and everyone wants you to go, you know, the guys are calling and they want you to go come hang out.
Yeah.
But you're like, fellas, I really want to like,
I gotta get this out.
I gotta get
go
this
through
out.
the mill.
Yep. Also feel that like sometimes ideas suffer because you're so heavily involved in that idea for 24/7, 365 that you don't take time to detach.
Yeah.
So then that could also stifle creativity.
Oh yeah,
right?
Absolutely. I do.
You ever get those two mixed up?
Yeah, sometimes because I think that the way I work is I can't grind something out. It has to almost, especially. I'm glad you mentioned music. So, 95% of the time, people don't believe this. I write a song in like 11 minutes.
Yeah,
it just goes. Bleh.
It just comes out.
If I get stuck on a song and I don't finish it, I won't finish it for 2 years.
Gotcha.
Because it just didn't find its vein for me. So I don't really have that ability. I don't have a hyper-focused moment in my creative realm that made me want to stay hyper-focused. It typically falls off the ladder for me if I get hyper-focused. But it made me think, Junior.
Yeah.
Okay, so could it work both ways, right? So I do want to talk a little bit about what else could a creative person adopt in their life that's in line with those disciplines that outside of creating and these two things, and can people who are non-creative start to discipline themselves toward creativity, right?
Yeah.
So I
believe that.
Yes, I believe.
Yeah.
Man, I think I'm getting that Bobby Brady voice. I believe both things. I believe that you can definitely, wow, we must be getting on to something good here.
Yeah.
Because here comes the bambulance. I believe that you should look at the things in your life if you're a creative and say, wow, well, I know that getting up early, no one's going to know I do it, right? But maybe it's a discipline I should add to my life because it does afford me more time in my day.
Yeah.
I am more focused when I start my task.
Yeah.
Taking care of my body, all these non-creatives do it, but what benefit would it be to me? Well, you begin to assimilate into that world without coughing up your creativity. In fact, you'll probably inspire more creativity. You're going to create time, health, opportunity. Secondly, if you're the non-creative person, could you sit down and say, you know what? Every day of my life, I'm going to write a song for 1 hour a day. I'm going to work on that thing because let me tell you something. I know a lot of these non-creative people, they've come to me, and please, that is not a bad term.
Yeah.
I'm saying people that don't seem to have this ability to create easily.
Right.
That's what I mean. They'll come to me and they'll say, man, I wish I could play guitar, Jay, right? Or I wish that I could just have a conversation. I struggled having a conversation.
Yeah.
They typically desire to do those things. And then I ask them, well, have you ever practiced?
Yeah.
Because I wonder if they use those same skills that have them, that the reason why their 401k is blowing up, right? The reason why
It's because they can withstand a long time at work without where I can't do that.
I know.
That guy's going 16 hours, however long it takes, and I'm just like, I'm not built that way.
But to feel more fulfilled or more meaningful in their life, which they're meaningful.
Oh no,
but could they develop the creativity side? Because you said something, and I'm going to keep talking.
Yeah.
In the very beginning of our podcast journey, Junior said he believes that every little boy is creative when he's little. And he meant girl too. He just meant, we were talking about men a lot in the beginning.
Right.
And you said that because one of the things they do is they grab their toys and they play and they talk, right? I have one Star Wars figure in the bathtub for like 3 years. I only have one. Right? It was because my cousin gave me one of them guys that drives the TIE fighters. He gave me one. Okay? So it was kind of hard, dude.
But
right?
you had, I mean, just positioning them in different places, he was different people.
Yes, in the bathtub. And he would go, I would put my knee up and he would go in the cave.
Yeah.
Not that cave. Jeez, oh, Pete's, guys. But you know what I mean, right?
I get it. I get it.
So,
you were saying something that triggered something for me. So, when a writer, if a writer only wanted to write when he was inspired, okay, versus the writer who writes every day and then there's inspiration that shows up during that time, who do you think will be further along in 10 years?
I think the person with the routine.
Correct.
I think the person with the routine.
Correct. With the routine, the guy who has the mental fortitude I'm going to write every day for the next 10 years.
Yes.
Right? Versus the guy that only, there's very few, I just found out, I saw this little documentary where it says that Prince has a vault in his house before he passed, and that it would take, if you listened to every album 8 hours a day, 12 hours a day. No, it said 24 hours a day. If you listened every day for 24 hours a day, all his music, song after song that he wrote while he was alive, it would take you 12 years to listen to all his music. 365 times 12 years. You know what I'm saying? That's how much he wrote and wrote and wrote. And then you think about like the songs that he had that were mega hits. He's gone and they're still being played on the radio. I mean, that happens for a lot of people. I'm just using him as the example, but he would do a 4-hour sound check, then a concert, and then go to the studio and record music.
People hated working for him.
Yeah.
They literally hated it because they couldn't match. They couldn't match him.
It was hard.
They couldn't hang with him.
Yes. So, yeah.
But that's an example of what a person who would be considered a hyper creative, right? Who is putting themselves through a regiment.
Yes.
Is disciplining themselves to just be cranking it out. Now you wonder, if you listen to all that music, would 75% of it suck, but it doesn't really matter because the 25%
is so good.
That is so good. He purchased it with his blood, sweat, and his tears, broken relationships, lost time, or maybe it wasn't lost because he got something out of it.
This is disconnect December for me. So I haven't been on social media.
I love it.
Right? So
multiple years?
Huh?
Multiple years you've been doing this, or just 2?
Multiple years.
I thought at least this is the third.
I think it was since COVID.
Yeah.
So
disconnect.
Disconnect December, right?
Yeah.
So I disconnect from social media, and it doesn't matter how many times I do this. It's always really hard. Like you wake up in the morning and you just want to grab an app or like scroll.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's just so hard. Lunch, you're eating.
Yeah.
And you just want to scroll. Right. So I'm trying to find alternative things to do. And I'm like, I got an iPad with Procreate, which is like an art tool on the iPad, right? I get to just draw. So I come home and instead of vegging on social media, I draw.
Yeah.
So I'm drawing and drawing and drawing. And I feel like I'm getting so much better.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Because
guys, this is it. This is positive replacement therapy.
It is.
You're doing it.
Yes. The book. We got to finish that book.
Finish that book too, right?
And then, so doing that. And then at lunch today, I took some scrap paper and I just and a pen out of my jacket.
Yeah.
And I just started drawing, and I'll show you the picture after we
please.
record. It's just funny because you're I know where you were at. I know where you were.
Cool.
But because I was drawing, it sparked a whole new series that I want to put together.
I love it.
Yeah, so I get it. And I feel like that word discipline was a big part of it. Mm-hmm. Just because you like to do something doesn't mean that you're disciplined to do it. You know what I mean?
Yes, it does not mean it. It doesn't mean it.
Yeah.
So how can we wrap this up for people? Because I have a few closing thoughts, and I'm sure you do too.
Go ahead, buddy.
So what this episode was about was about progressing sometimes as a creative to where you're going to make the greatest impact for you, your family, your friends, for God.
Yeah.
Oftentimes you're going to need to mask yourself, not in a bad way, but in a good way, as the people who are filling all of the roles from the bottom to the top. And probably 80% of those people are not going to be the type of person that you are. Mm-hmm. So to be accepted by them, to be trusted by them, you have to emulate them without abandoning who you are, because there's going to be a moment where you're in front of that guy like Junior was, and he starts to sprout out these ideas. If he had sprouted them out in the other room, that person he was with first might have been jealous and said, you know what? You ain't gonna meet Kevin, or whatever his name was. I ain't gonna let him meet Kevin. I'm gonna go in there and tell Kevin that you didn't show up. Right? You got to be careful, guys.
Yeah.
Because you deserve to be at the top. You deserve to be the out of the box thinker who's the genius. It's in you, but if you don't progress, if you don't adopt those disciplines, that are going to give you benefits throughout your life anyway, you're gonna realize, like Junior's realizing, he's disciplining himself to not scroll so much. He's abandoning scrolling. And he's realizing that a talent that he already had is getting sharper and better every day. Because he's doing it. There's so many benefits, guys, to begin to adopt the discipline of the people who are between you and the top.
Amen. That was awesome. And in closing, I just want to say, if you love something so much that you do it all the time, it takes discipline to make sure you don't ignore your other responsibilities. So I feel that that's like an implied discipline.
Yeah.
Right?
That's implied,
so,
love it.
Thank you so much.
That was good, right?
Everyone,
Pay your bills, creative people, so that you can get the loan.
So you can get the
loan.
Get
it? All these things, they work together, right? All right, man. We love you guys. And my name is Jay Casey.
Fernando Lopez Jr.
This has been
the Mental Edge Podcast. We out.
Sincerely hope you enjoyed this episode of the Mental Edge Podcast. Please remember to like, subscribe, follow, and share. Until next week, we out.